design, but I work in crafts mostly. Um, and I've been doing research on the material culture of the African American homemaker because I discovered after I graduated from school that our community doesn't have really resources for mass production or any kind of sustainable products or anything that are culturally relevant or um, pertain to our health and well-being. So I was trying to do some research on this, why we don't have a continuum of the African American culture. And I saw that our African American culture has been kind of sabotaged, and it started with Reconstruction of the 1860s, supposedly Reconstruction of the 1860s after Emancipation Proclamation. African Americans were supposed to be well, the United States was supposed to help African Americans uh, establish themselves within the American system, but really what happened was that they were assimilated into another uh, um, a controlled labor force. They were getting paid, but still they could never do anything like have develop a corporation like General Foods or General Motors or all these major corporations that started out during the the Industrial Revolution of the 1920s, which African Americans were kind of they played a real interesting trick during that period, and the distraction was the Harlem Renaissance. I just really found that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk us through this little survey or some of the research that I've done. This is in clay. My fiber my material that I work with is fiber. This is clay because I'm just seeing this whole possibility for uh, facilities of utilitarian ceramics with the African American community. It's just, oh my God, it's almost like digging for diamonds and gold. But anyway, this image here, the first image is an image of a mosque in Mali. And I'm just going to go through some of these slides just to show the continuum of the ceramic culture from Africa. But since maybe a lot of us have never been to Africa, I've been to Africa one time and I was only there for 2 weeks. So I'm not really absorbing the culture or anything, but I still have a very active gaze, which I feel like is given to me, through my blood, you know, because my mother has it, and my mother's never been to Africa, but she had very African gaze. But this is another building in Mali, and this is out of clay and mud, almost like the adobe in New Mexico, and in Mexico. And this is another uh, earthen building, all hand built. And this is a village. This is all these buildings are built, and the surface designs, women do the surface design on these, and these are all. This is a technique. I'm really not familiar with it, but I saw some people doing some adobes down in Albany, New Mexico. They were building a house, and what they do is they get the materials right there from the side of their house, almost like the people in um, South Carolina to do the sweetgrass baskets. They just pull the grass up from the side of their houses, that they're actually making these baskets. They're not going to the store to purchase any materials. They're pulling or planting these sweetgrass um, grasses. And this is another building out of ceramics, and you can see this one needs a little bit of repair, but still, nonetheless, it's a beautiful, very organic, handmade building in Mali. And here's another example. And you can see on the side some pottery. One of the nice things about pottery is over ages, like if your pots get really, really old or they get busted up, you can just crush them up and you can kind of recycle them back into clay, and you can, use them as pottery. And I'm sure some of these buildings have been done the same way. And even when a building gets extremely old, they can knock it down, crush it up, and reconstruct ceramic building, hand build another building from the clay from the other building. Here's another view. Just giving you another example of some ceramic pieces or buildings or architecture. They're starting to You can only use this kind of building, as you can imagine, like in, the Southwest, because it's really hot down there. I don't think these buildings don't work too well up north because of the weather situation. But here's some more pots, and you can see some ceramic and some metal pots and some wooden pots way on the far right. This is like an area where pottery is made. Here's another view, and this is a kitchen. A friend of mine did he's an architect. He did an installation of a contemporary kitchen that's totally made out of clay. All the walls and everything are made out of clay, except for the branches, or you see these pieces of wood that are brought in for structure, whatever. Everything in this kitchen is made out of clay and stone. There's stone for grinding grain, but the walls are clay. And then up above, those are gourds. So it's all mineral and plant life that's in the structure of these. And then the branches, the fibers for scrubbing, the for washing, and then some other views. And these are some of the surface design. You may be familiar with this image, but this is a woman doing surface designs on the exterior of the building, and these are all mineral dyes. It's not really a glaze, but it's mineral dyes that go into the pattern for the surface design. Is there some more women doing the surface designs on the building? And these surface designs can be changed over a period of time. Some more. Let me see here. Okay, I'm trying to read the chat. Okay, and this is where I discovered where we were bamboozled through the Harlem Renaissance. I had just finished listening to the audiobook of um, about Elaine Locke, and he was one of the creators of the Harlem Renaissance. And what happened with the Harlem Renaissance, what the African American artists had intended for it to be, because they had white benefactors. The white benefactors had another idea of what they wanted for Harlem Renaissance, and totally different from what the African American artists wanted. The African American artists wanted to swing it more into something similar to what's happening during that same period with the Industrial Revolution. And the white benefactors were giving financial support, but they wanted the artist to create Negro art that they wanted to collect, and they wanted the jazz to be entertaining. They didn't want anything, they weren't thinking about kind liberation or um, establish the artist to evolve into businesses. Pretty much the only artist that was really trying to break away with Ann Douglas. If you look at some of his murals, you'll see how he's talking about the industrialization of the African experience from Africa to North America, and then building these contemporary structures that have an African aesthetic to it. He was never able to go beyond his murals because he was getting paid through public arts for his mural. He wasn't being paid by the patrons, so he'd put his statement in his mural about how the creativity of the African American was evolving in the industrialized North America. So he was kind of like he used to have soirees at his house in Harlem too, trying to figure out how the other artists could break out of what they were doing. Their work was only being sold to the white patrons, so they, pretty much had a problem. And this is a group. This is amazing. I just discovered this group of African American women during the Harlem Renaissance, and they wrote these amazing one-act plays. They're they're mystical, and a lot of the women were mystical writers. Um, and I'm just now discovering this. I got this book online. It doesn't really have the actual plays in the book, but it kind of describes the plays. It has a few, paragraphs from the play, but it's to me it's a very good research piece, because a lot of the people that were in up in Harlem, they, after the Great Migration from the South, they were coming from sharecropping situations. So that's just, like not even one generation from, you know, um, the enslavement situation. But that's a very it was a very good insight as far as the aesthetic and the material culture of the African American homemaker. And this is another book I found of African American poetry 400 years. Now, this is way before we were even supposed to be able to read. Uh, Somebody would like me to read the chat comments aloud? Is Oh, let's see.
Sorry,
But
Xenobia. I was just offering if you wanted me to read the chat comments
oh,
aloud.
could you please? That would be good.
Certainly. I didn't want to disrupt you. That's why I sent
Oh,
it to you
no,
privately.
no, you're a help. You're a help. You see how I'm reading your stuff like okay. Yeah,
I
that's
just,
good.
yeah, I just wanted to let folks know. Thank everybody for consenting around the recordings. And then there was a conversation in the chat about retentions. I think it was Golden Sunflower said retention patterns. There are earthen buildings. I visited in Northern Cali and earth ships, and then a conversation about earth ships that is like continuing throughout the chat. So yes, I just wanted to let folks know to please use the chat, keep making comments, and I will interject if that's okay with you, Xenobia.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Whitney. Thanks a lot. Yeah, but also too, I was trying to with this poetry, I was trying to kind of see if I can get insight on the African American gaze enslavement, because some of these poems were written while folks were enslaved, and it's really interesting reading a poem about how beautiful the land is, and then how they're um, kind of imprisoned on this beautiful land, and it's very interesting and chilling poetry. But then too, I get a good sense of their gaze because they do start describing nature in North America. And this is my mother, Alice Olivia Bobby Bailey. Everybody called Bobby. I like to call her my first extremely creative woman. She could have been an artist and engineer had she been able to afford it, number one. And then, she just, wasn't able to. She could have been in that whole group of African Americans that they were recruiting in these engineering programs, because they've been recruiting them for years. I have a cousin. He was a industrial engineer. He was recruited in that, program. That was back in the 40s. And I think up until about, I don't know if they started doing recruiting African Americans because of uh, the way, our mathematical skills or whatever, but we have a way of it's almost like it's a quantum physics that we deal with the system, the mathematical system, and then we go outside the system to come to an answer and stuff. But anyway, was she's what made me get confused when I went to art school, because she started me off with one type of aesthetic that was very African American. And then when I went to school, she and the other households in our community, when I went to school, I didn't that was not visible, that whole aesthetic that we were raised with within our household. That's why I thought it would be very important to um, do research on the African American homemaker, because if I was raised in this type of home, I know other people were raised in similar homes. But when you study designs, you don't really get the African and North America's aesthetic for building houses, because back early on in the 20s and the 30s, well, black folks couldn't hire white architects to build their homes, so they called themselves carpenters. They didn't call themselves architects, but they were designing and building homes, and they were homes that came from their visual aesthetics from their community, which was a true African American aesthetic. So this is my gaze. I would take these walks through the parks in New York City. This is a tree in Central Park, and I just look at the branches and the trees. I would just see these formations and stuff, and these were some of the. This is actual wart on a tree, and these are some of the formations that I would see during my walks. And this is in Prospect Park in Brooklyn. This is how I would exercise my gaze, because I wasn't getting it in school, so I would go to nature and get it and photograph, and then collect my photographs and use that as design resources. when yeah, design resources when I wanted to design something or just have it as a point of inspiration. And these are there's some other images of the tree branches that were. And this year, I discovered that I thought maroons were only in Jamaica and oh God, what's I can't think of the place, the other place that there were communities of maroons the north part of North America, down in Texas, Louisiana, Florida, and really in California.
You're capturing both the light and shadow of each planet. And so one of the other things that's cool, of course, is that the use of the lunar calendar predates the
Hello?
lunar calendar in indigenous cultures. So one of the really cool
Hi
things.
there. Maybe somebody has. Oh, it's gone now.
Okay.
Continue. It's just like a mute option. Continue.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions or any comments? But anyway, yes, the maroon is and I'm sure everybody has a family member that was a maroon. Those are those people that will appear and disappear, and you won't see them for years, but then you won't hear from them for years, and then they'll reappear again. All the news in the world, everything that you could think to ask them about different family members, they know that's what they do. They disappear and hook up with other folks, but that's what was happening during enslavement. Maroons were kind of like the underground telegraph machine. They would go from place to place. They never did leave you- the South because they didn't want to leave their family members, because they could have went to a place where it was unlawful to be enslaved, and but they chose not to. They chose to stay on the land down south and kind of steal away back into the plantation and visit folks and information. But this is an amazing book. And the thing about the maroon culture is they're a hard culture to study, the material culture, because all of their materials decomposed, like mostly in the swamps. They were even living in trees too. They were living underground in swamps, in the trees. But over a period of time, their materials would decompose because they were made out of clay, fiber, meaning grass or stone, bone. But they had created a very organic material culture. They even had farms. They even had cattle too. And this is a tree. This is my niece in Seattle, Washington, and in one of the forests in Seattle, Washington, where this is her favorite tree, where she likes to go and meditate. And this is our family has this thing with nature. We got to go in nature to breathe. It's almost like a fish out of water if we're not, in nature that much. And this is me and my favorite. And they call this a walking tree, but all the time that I've been visiting this tree, it's pretty much it probably moved just maybe a little. But this it the it you can go deep, but you got to be careful if you go inside this tree, because snakes could have eggs down there, and you can go in there and crush the eggs or whatever. And this is a plantation down in Louisiana, and the African Americans built um, these slave quarters, but it was a colonized aesthetic. But I think some of the interior pieces within these slave quarters were designed and engineered by Africans, because looking at the way this bed is made. There's no nails or anything. It's all by pegs and rope. And then the mattress is made out of grass, um, and it's like a fiber, but the ropes are extended across underneath the mattress to hold the person on the bed, but it's kind of like woven at the base of the bed, and you can see these pegs here where it kind of, and this bed could be disassembled and the pieces stored in on top of each other or against the wall. And this is a friend of mine's mother's house. Her mother is a retired interior designer, but her mother came from people they had their own land. They weren't really sharecroppers. And I think they're from the Carolinas. And her mother studied home economics in her high school, and her mother, which my friend's grandmother, was the mother's teacher. So she has a pure continuum of the of an African American aesthetic. This is like pure material culture of the African American homemaker, because she recycles everything and anything. A lot of her interior is found materials and objects, and how she uses nature, and just she uses a lot of natural fibers in what she does. And it's like an very updated early African American material culture in the interior, how she keeps that nature within, and then how she found this root of a tree and just turned it into this tabletop. She's also an artist. Her mother is also an artist, so that's her mother's work right above the table. But the way that she does, she told me that her mother told me that she had made a tabletop out of a chicken coop. She still has a chicken coop, but she was just doing some of her pieces. And this is her bathroom, and this is the floor of her shower. How she uses her stones and then concrete on the. This looked like the showers that we had in Africa. Floors, but they were made out of tiles, and there were ceramic tiles, and these are actual stones.
Hi again, Zenobia. I just want to let you know some of the interesting conversation in the chat.
Uh-huh.
The last book title really sparked the conversation, The Slavery Exiles. Golden Sunflowers talking about maroon culture in Florida. I mentioned maroon culture in Brazil. John Horse is the great Black Seminole leader. Also, mention of Guyana as like another potential place for maroon culture. T. Berkeley talks about gully culture in South Carolina.
Right.
And there's a really beautiful Bell Hooks quote that is in the chat right now. And it says, reclaiming the inspiration and the intention of our ancestors who acknowledge the sacredness of the earth, its power to stand as witness, is vital to our contemporary survival. So yeah, I just wanted to update you about the rich conversations that's taking place in the chat.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the connections to the maroon culture, which is, talk about survival skills, which they kind of pulled together as they were, you know, making a life for themselves, because this was a wilderness to them. It was, land that had seasons that they weren't really used to, and the life and vegetation, and even the minerals too. And that's one thing that I'm going into now. This is Mount Rainier, Seattle, Washington, from Seattle, Washington. And I just met this woman that does this forage for natural minerals. for glazes and dyes. She actually goes into the land, and she finds these caves and gets these stones that have, excuse me, has these minerals. When you see these beautiful landforms, these are active minerals here. A lot of the Native American used them for ceremonial pieces and pottery, for medicine or whatever. But most of the ones in Washington State, where I'm from, have an iron base. This pretty much, this is yeah, I think this is. I was really surprised that there was this red in Washington State, and all this is, these are natural minerals here, um, that forgers go and bust these rocks up into a fine powder and uses it for glazes or dyes or whatever they want to use it for. And this is like a cave with all its minerals in there. Like I said, this is like mostly iron, and this is my friend's hand. She's foraging these minerals because a lot of them are. This is some rocks that have been crushed down, and a lot of I don't think these stones are not from the Pacific Northwest. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think they're from the Pacific Northwest. But these are like natural dyes that it's really good to use the natural dyes when you're working with especially in crafts, because number one, they never fade, and they go through this photosynthesis if they're exposed to the light, which makes the colors get deeper and darker with time. So I mean, just like some of these dyes or minerals that have been found on ancient artifacts that are like 40,000 years old, they're still visible and they're still strong. And there's no synthetic um, dye that can last that long. Plus, too, the properties of minerals is really, and these are some more stones, and even they you can get different kind of colors because they use colors from different urines from animals. They'll feed them a certain kind of grass or grain, and get a certain kind of really deep flows and stuff. Heard in the Middle East, that's what they do. They feed their camels a certain kind of grass, and they'll have a deeper um, color to their urine. Different insects they find, and these are some other stones that get crushed up and used into glazes and dyes, and these are after they have been crushed up into powder, um, ready for whatever anyone would want to use them for. And these are good house paints, um, because the longevity of the colors is really good. And this is some more. These colors I know are from the Pacific Northwest. They have strong blues, and this is a palette of these natural minerals that could go in glazes. And really, depending on the recipes that people use for the dyes and the glazes, you can blend them together and just get other color combinations and stuff. And this is a palette, when whoever is about to start working with these pigments. This looks like a Native American palette, and this is Native Americans actually using the natural pigments in their artifacts, because they're not going to the store to purchase their pigments. They're getting everything they really work hard to put these pieces together, to actually see how they crush these actual stones down to powder so that they can get these colors. These are all natural pigments, natural mineral. I don't think it's may have some plant pigments in here, but I think these are all mineral. This is mineral. This is the mighty Thunderbird um, mask. There's so many different variations of this mask. This is one of my favorite masks of people of the Pacific Northwest, where I'm from. This is another Thunderbird, all natural mineral dyes, pigments, hand carved. The the work is so exact. It's so amazing. And this is a contemporary Native American potter, and using this is a plate. You can actually, it's a utilitarian plate. It's not a decorative or an art plate for display. This is to actually being eaten off of. This is using local minerals for the glaze, and just the brush stroke that they use is very beautiful. And then the press technique around the edge, excuse me, to get the patterns. And this is another um, hand-built pieces, Native American, contemporary Native American pottery. And another example. And the motifs on here are, they make a kind of stamp, and they put it into the clay when it's still kind of wet. And then, they fire it and they put their glaze, they hand brush. I love the brush or dipped technique of the glazes. And these are another stamps around the edges and around and in the center of patterns that they will create using local glazes and stuff. You can tell that these glazes have a lot of iron in them, which is not toxic, for you if you eat these plates or anything. And this is very, I've been asking some mineral forgers about this glaze. This glaze that I would see a lot of potters using in Seattle, Washington. I don't know if they, just put like a crystal on these plates before they would fire them, and then the crystals would get fired up and they would, melt down into the clay. But someone was telling me that they think this is a synthetic clay, and they really are not sure if it's like natural or synthetic. But I gotta ask around about this, because this is a very beautiful glaze. Looks like it to me, it looks like crystals were melted down. And a lot of the potters up in Seattle or the Pacific Northwest uses the glaze, so it must be extremely accessible. That's why I'm thinking that it's some kind of stone that people are finding, and then melting it down. This is a pottery of Dave the Potter. This is a pot that was done on a plantation, that one of the products of the plantation, they had a pottery plant. I think they had a couple of them on their plantation, and a lot of the Africans that were enslaved there, they were making pots to be sold. And this is one of Dave the pots that he was making. What was so unique about his pots, I don't know how he got away with this, is he would write his name and a poem on these pots. But you know I don't know, maybe he was getting them out of the shop, out of the overseer's sight, that they didn't see these pots writing on it, whatever. But they say that he has about 40,000 pots that he's made during his life while he was on this plantation. And this is pretty much the first or the best recorded pottery of an African American. And this is another one of his pots. Um, you can see it's built. It was pretty much hand built, wheel built pot. And this is Yinka. This is an amazing Philadelphia ceramic artist and cultural activist. I can't think of Yinka's last name, but anyway, she has kind of like she organizes, African American women, not really potters either, but she organized a beautiful project a few months ago. I think it was last year, where she invited just out maybe between 20, about around 20 women to come in and make pots, which these are these larger pots that they would, because she had studied pot making in Ghana. So she brought her technique of pot making, which I attended this workshop, which really brought another kind of freedom to me with pottery making, because I'd taken pottery in college, and it was really hard for me to figure out the next step as far as creating something. But the way Yinka was instructing us or sharing her the technique with us, I could go from from the beginning to the end, as far as creating a pot, as far as doing the surface patterns on it, or just experimenting with shape of it. There was a flow with it. Plus, she started us out. She really gave us a lot of support, because she would she all the play was prepared when we got there, and she had pretty much done. She had started people's bases, 'cause I think she wanted our experience to be extremely pleasant, which it was. And I and that too is kind of what sparked me into wanting to uh, uh, go more into exploring the possibilities of these studios for African American women, because there are products, services that um, people could make for households, contemporary households. Like this also is a Philadelphia ceramic artist. I've been trying to purchase this pot forever, but I can never get it because it gets sold out before I can make a purchase. So it's a thing she sells on Etsy. I'm gonna post her name in my Google Docs also, but I just think her teapots or her teacups are just amazing. They're just brilliant.
Beauty.
This is how I want to drink my tea in the morning or during the day. And this
So
is side.
Xenobia, there's a question in the chat. Sorry to disrupt or interrupt.
Okay.
So T Berkeley asks, can you speak about your experience with colonial wear as a collaboration between African American and Indigenous American pottery?
What where?
Colonial wear. It's COLONOWARE. That is how T Berkeley spelt it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not a potter, and I'm not really familiar. If they're familiar with it, I could kind of activate their mic or whatever, or they can. If I'm not familiar with that, where I'm a fiber artist, I got bit by the ceramic bug by Yinka. I took her workshop, and after that, I just started really researching the possibilities of expanding this venture with creating businesses through Suburban. But if they like to share information, I'd really like to hear it.
You were just speaking. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. You were speaking about Dave the Potter.
Yeah.
And I guess he was creating work during the period of enslavement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Colin Aware is, they were finding that African Americans were creating this pottery, but the type of clay that they were using was a little more like rudimentary. It wasn't very refined. And that they believed that it was a collaboration between enslaved Africans on plantations and indigenous Americans, that they had these intercultural exchanges where they were exchanging techniques of creating pottery and how to use different types of clays in order to do that. I just
Right.
didn't know if you had any kind of, if that came across in your research.
No, but I will check it out. Did you put that in your notes in the chat?
I just linked to it's. You can look it up. It's called Colin Aware, and it's found mostly in South Carolina.
Okay.
Plantations in South
I
Carolina.
have to. Well, I'll spell that for me, please.
COLONOWARE.
Oh no, I'm not familiar with that. But I will check it out. But it probably was where that, because like like I said before, like if a cup got broken, they wouldn't throw it away. They would just crush it up back into a fine grog, and they would mix it back in with clay, and they would create another pot or another bowl of whatever from that. But that's a possibility. But I'm gonna check this out. Thanks a lot for that. Are you a potter yourself?
No, I worked as an archaeologist in historical archaeology. So we work a lot with ceramics.
What kind of archaeology and what part of the world?
I was working in Maryland, primarily in Prince George's County. So I was working at a lot of former plantation sites. So yeah, we were looking at the, and I also was working at a lab through University of Maryland. And so they did, I did a ceramic analysis with material from the Y plantation, which was where Frederick Douglass was held when he was younger.
Yeah.
And they had some, we had some remnants of Colin Aware from that site.
Yeah, I would like to be in contact with you. Is there any way that you can? How could we do that?
Yeah, I can send you my email.
Okay, thank you so much. I should have done an introduction to everybody. Just you know, everybody kind of put that in the chat, their information. Who they are, where they're located, what they do, what their interest in this ceramics is, what connects them with ceramics and the material culture for African American women and stuff like that. African American homemaker, because I mean, the African American homemaker is a major resource as far as industrialization of this country, but it's so hidden, and it's not really documented that much in the libraries. You have to do this double-sided kind of research, through but lately research and documentation has been coming up because of people that are doing research now. But back in the day when these things were actually being practiced, they weren't being documented. But these are some more ceramic pieces. These are earthenware. These are some more her pieces. I think they're so charming. More her pieces, hand built. And this is another ceramic artist. She's not in Philadelphia, but African American. I think she's in California. Oh, this is Compton, California. Yeah, this is her link on Instagram. So if you want to, check out. And then there's a whole link to on Instagram with African American ceramic artist. And this is another ceramic artist. I think she's in the Northeast. I'm not, no, South Carolina, sorry. But she uses, her glazes are very, I think this is a dear friend of mine, Sana Musasama. This is my teacups that I got from her. I wanted some tall teacups. These are hand built, no two are alike, but I just love my teacups. She makes her own glazes and I don't know if she does her glaze also, but and this is Simone Lee's vase. She's a artist that's really, her career is really taken off. But to me, this is a very classic, contemporary classic um, uh, piece, design more so than craft to me, because I think it's so beautifully designed. The silhouette, and then even how the different elements, the handle, and it's not really a spout on top, but it's just so elegantly designed from the I can't really say profile because this is a whole 360-degree view of model from an African American woman's head. And this is an African American potter, but he definitely has an African aesthetic with his work. But I think he consciously does that. But then too, this is where that mathematic thing comes in, because once you there's an endless source of patterns once you hit the geometry with these patterns. And it's like meditation. You can hit it, and then you can just go forever and ever until you run out of material, just doing these different patterns using this geometric kind of formation of the patterns. And this is another one of his patterns, pots for storage and vessels for drinking and play. I think these are more fine art pieces, but his works are very and this is an antique piece. This is apothecary, from a pharmacist pottery, North American, and with earthenware. And this is other, for brewing or whatever, and cosmetics, creams, lotions, potions. This is out of stone though. This isn't ceramic, but it can't be. This is also apothecary container for creams, for materials that are prescribed. This is another marble piece. But this also too could be done in ceramics. And this is a sprouter. I had a sprouter. I'm into making, it's not really kombucha, but it's called Rejuvelac, like a fermented kind of wheatgrass. And you drink, it's like a drink that you make. It's not really a wine or kombucha, but it still has these live enzymes, and it's like an energy drink. And I used to kind of split my grain between tiles. I would, wet the tiles and the the grains in between it, and then after a day or so it starts sprouting. Then you got to take the sprout out and rinse them and then put it back on. You know, it was really a lot of unnecessary work till I discovered these sprouters. And I had got a sprout from a flea market because I'd never even heard of them before. And but they're really hard to find. And plus, too, I would like one that's more culturally relevant. But this too is something that um, could be, you know, community made with clay from Philadelphia, because they have clay that's accessible here.
Mhm.
These are some more. These are for fermenting and or either holding flours, grains, beans, honey, whatever. But these are all, you know, and this is also for.
Oh,
I guess you could put your. You said something, Whitney. Oh. Oh, but this is also could be used for beverages, teas, um, and this is for containers that, you know, have these brilliant little compartments for these spoon, which, you know, you can use. You can never find a spoon when you need it and stuff. And these are some teas that I made. These are my blends. And this is my brand. I had created a contemporary African American tea ceremony, and it's for mental health. I When I learned about the tea ceremony, the Japanese tea ceremony, I said, well, you know, we need that in our community, because it is all about meditation, and it's all about healing, and it's all about going into that place, that inner place, where you do come out with all, you know, those beautiful scriptures and those beautiful architectures. Because if you think about it, before, when, you know, Japan was an empire and they built all those beautiful buildings and all those everything, all the cultural material culture of Japan, they came from monks, and they came from the monks' meditations. You know, all in pretty much the East, all of the really high skilled material culture came from monks, because that's all that they did. But they had to go into meditation to pull those designs into physical form. And we have to get past our trauma. I think we have to, you know, do the ceremony to get past our trauma, number one. But then number two, as far as developing a North American material culture, we have to be able to go there to really bring forth what's in us, that, you know, like, it's like about 200 years overdue. You know, it's been suppressed for so long, but it's there. I mean, because we're humans, you know. We have okay, this is one of my teas, and they have social purposes. This is a tea that's for when you want to have a conversation with a good friend. You need to talk over something, and you just want to be calm. You don't want to be super excited about it. So just to be able to get your communication across. So this tea is blended for pleasant um, conversation. And this tea is I think this is a scholar's tea. I think this is one of the scholars' teas they have. Instead of drinking coffee while you're studying or doing research because you don't want to be jittery, the caffeine in tea is different than the caffeine in coffee. It kind of stimulates you intellectually, but it doesn't make you jittery. And plus, these teas are from Africa. They're from Liberia. A friend of mine, Duke Hamilton, his family were enslaved African Americans. And then there were a group of African Americans that they let go back to Liberia to form Liberia, because Liberia was formed by the United States. They had an American president and everything, and pretty much that's what a lot of their problems are about, is Americans, the quality of life and everything. But anyway, it's a long story. But he family owns tea, coffee, cocoa. Um, and now he said they are harvesting honey. They have about 500 acres, plantations of these not plantations, 500 acres farms, where he grows this tea, coffee, and cocoa, and he sells his product all over the world, because Africa's soil is so rich that whatever you grow in it, it makes the product so much more richer. So he sells his teas to and China, and because it's a very, very rich tea. But anyway, he he had helped me put together my brand for my tea ceremony, and this is another one of my tea. This is a tea children that have a hard time getting to sleep, but then the thing about it, once you drink tea, you gotta get up and go to the bathroom. Don't wet the bed, but it does help children, the ones that don't, go to sleep, that they stay awake too long. You give them this tea and they're out, and it's tasty too. And these are just some examples of some teacups I like to get, because all my teas are loose. So I like to, let my tea steep in my cup after I, pour the hot water over it and stuff. And these two have a potential to, for products that come out of our community. There's some more beautiful vessels with some beautiful glazes on them. And this is Karen Rose. She's my apothecary lady, and she's in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm so sad sad I can't get to her right now, because around this time I go to her to get herbs for the flu season. And she just really knows. She has an apothecary and an herb shop. It's so gorgeous too. It's really, really beautiful. And she's so sweet. She knows everything. And she has classes too. And she probably has classes online. I will share her information in the Google Doc. I'll have all that information by tomorrow. But and her teas aren't bitter. Well, the ones that I had to take so far, they're not bitter, because I've been pretty much doing the same blend um every year. She hasn't changed my blend yet, because I haven't had a need for it to change. But two, with we need a material culture to support this practice, and just the medicinal um caretaking that we need to do with our herbs and stuff. And this is from her apothecary. They make candles, oils, blends. I haven't been to the apothecary yet. And this is the water. I'm not trying to sell this product, or excuse me, but this is the best. This is a pH 10 essence water, and this is this will really balance your pH, like the alkaline in your body. it'll it really does reduce acids, so you can really really take care of your body. You can get this online, Amazon, or sometimes some places, Whole Foods sells it. They're a little bit more expensive, but this African American doctor was the one that pretty much engineered. This company is owned by someone else, but an African American doctor put together. He's like an energy doctor, and this is his engineering. I guess you can call it bioengineering with this water, but if you look it up, but it's essence alkaline water, and uh whenever I find it, I get it. I just got a bunch of, well, I'm gonna have to stock up for this um season, this fall and winter, because it's kind of different than other seasons, but this will really help your body to, be as strong as it can, because we really have to do an extra kind of effort nowadays to keep our system really strong. And these are urns. These are out of stone, though I don't think these are ceramics, but these are just different options for, possibilities for this future projecting for the community ceramic facilities. And then, of course, you can have your sacred materials, candle holders, your book holders, your incense holders, that all can be, made out of, the ceramics and stuff. And it is a huge incense pot. And these are some dolls I made a million years ago. I made these back in the 90s, I think the early 90s. And these are my Conjure Woman dolls, and her face is made out of ceramics. I made a mold out of plaster, and I would pour the plaster slip into the mold, and it just made the system move a little bit faster. But her body is made out of fabric, and and she's stuffed with sawdust, and the fur on her shoulder, those that's buffalo fur, and she, has cowrie shells and silver beads around her waist, and coconut shells around her neck, and she has this big petticoat, but she is supposed to be, and grapevines in her hat, but she was this this conjure woman, this medicine woman, this herbal woman, this, healer, um, that we're kind of losing. I was doing a whole series of them, and this is another one of my dolls. And their dresses are handmade too. I hand sewed these. I didn't have a sewing machine back then. I don't, but her dress is handmade, and her shoes are handmade. That's like a soft leather, and her pieces crocheted, and of course her face is made of ceramic. And this is another one of my earlier dolls. And these are some possibilities for some tiles for the wall, that can be made from um what do you call them, like stamps. You these templates, but they're molds that you make, and then you just press the clay into the mold and get the patterns and stuff. And these are other possibilities, but this also could have culturally relevant motif to them. And these are some floor tiles with the different glazes, beautiful glazes. No two never be like. And this is another exterior glaze. I'm working on a project now that I'm trying to introduce glazed bricks to the client, because number one, I think it will last longer. It stays clean, longer. You don't have to really clean it that much, and it's for a building in Seattle, Washington, so the rain will keep it, do pretty much a lot of the maintenance, the rain in the winter. There's another glazed tile, glazed brick, and this is another. These are this is a natural fiber, natural mineral. This is
Just
another
a heads up,
exterior.
Zenobia, we have
Say
15
that.
minutes.
Say
Just
that
a
again.
heads up, we have 15 minutes left.
Okay, good. Thanks so much.
You're
And
welcome.
this is another exterior glaze, bricks, which I really love. I think this is interior tiles, possibilities for um, a studio, ceramic studio within the community. This is Sistah Gates, who's in Chicago, that has an amazing ceramic studio. And he too was trying to team up with Benjai, the Ghanaian architect, that if David needed bricks, that, Theaster Gates could, do custom bricks. But I was thinking, shoot, they could do custom bricks and, get a contract for custom bricks in Philadelphia. Excuse me. This is a ceramic facility in Philadelphia. I'm so sorry. I don't have my notes, but this is a ceramics facility in Philadelphia. This has been in existence since the mid 1800s, and they do. It's still using the same materials and tools and equipment from back in the day, and they're still selling these tiles and stuff. And these are all hand pressed clay. They get the clay down not really too far from where the factory is, but you can see the stages of the making of the tiles. They press the tile in this plaster, then they pull out the pieces here, and then glaze the pieces, and then they set it in like a ceramic, and then they let it dry, and that pretty much is the tile. And this is another plaster mold for tile, and then you can see they press the clay in the tile. They have all the different, these are loose pieces here, and then they glaze the pieces and they set it in like a grog or a concrete. I think they said that they were using concrete for this. And this is the pretty much finished the different pieces of the tile. Oh, and this is the fixed tile. I had it backwards, had my slides backwards. And these are molds. And right here is the clay after they've been pressed into the molds. But these molds are some of these molds are a few hundred years old. So they, and majority of the people that work here are, they have graduate degrees in ceramics, so like, I mean, that this could be, in our community. And these are like bags of clay that they go and pull the clay in the spring and summer, and during the fall and winter, that's when they start making everything, from the clay that they get from the areas. And this is Queen Afua's, took her Sacred Woman's workshop, which saved my life. I'm gonna go through this real fast, but like, she has a really amazing system, and she has a system, but she does. They're not a material culture to support all the practices and the tools for the sprouting of the food, and because you're eating like it's really high maintenance, but the quality of life you feel is just amazing. And these some of her products. I live off of her Green Life formula every morning. Sometimes I don't get a salad in me, and I need to take this with fruit juice or whatever. Then the breath of life is kind of keeps your mucus down, and then like the cologne ease, that helps you elimination stuff. But and these are just the product. And this is another one product. This African American woman. She's in, oh God, I don't know. I'm gonna have your information on the Google Doc. But this is for yoni steaming and clean your vaginal area. It's all natural ingredients and everything, and very mild. I'm using this product now, and I'm testing all of these products just to kind of, see how they work and stuff. But I'm going to use this for a few months to see how it works. I'm really pleased with it so far. I've been using it for about a month. But this is not a month. Yeah, about a month. But this is the wash here. This is Yoni Pearl. You insert it like you do a tampon, and then after it absorbs all the toxics, you just pull it out. And this is the herb stuff that you put in the steamer to when you steam your vagina. And this is a steamer that was made in China. I had to get one of these because I wanted to research it just to see how it's made. It's an American company, but they made it's a plastic yoni steamer, and you have the different products. This is a different company sells the products, and then this roll comes with the steamer. But I had to get it just to see how it works. This is a friend of mine doing modeling, and she's sitting on the steamer here, and you sit on it while this is it, and it's electric, so you can put the the herbs in it, but steamer the heat keeps it warm, and then you separate the bottom from the top. And this is side view where some of the steam can come out and stuff, and then you can see it's made in China and the voltage and everything. And this is another company, pretty much the same thing, but they do also cleaning out your gut, not really a cologne, but it helps clean out your gut. This is like, when you go, like right about now, we should be doing a soul a fast or whatever, cleansing a fruit or vegetable fast. But then you have another yoni wash and different purifiers, all these you put under your tongue. This is for, your mental state here. This is the yoni wash. And these are the herbs. It's almost like a laxative, I guess you can call it, but it gets rid of your congestion and stuff. And these are some instructions. And this is a wooden yoni. I don't think I would deal with a wooden yoni because of the bacteria that would get caught with. It's hard to really clean that bacteria from wood. I think ceramic is better. And these are two women having a yoni steam, and then two others are having yoni steams. And this is an artist. He's from Venezuela, but he practices in New York. He's in the Bronx, but this is some of his amazing work. And why I'm showing his work is he makes these beautiful chairs out of ceramic, and I just think there's such inspiration for doing yoni stools, because it doesn't have to be anything very exact. It could be hand built. I'm sure it'll take a lot of practice before the model is created or whatever. But he just has no tour ever like this is fine art, really. And he just does these beautiful, beautiful ceramic pieces. And this is who we would be selling our products to. It's an amazing group of designers that was organized by Melanie Bennett. This is her in the red. She is an unbelievable person. She used to have a carpet business. Now she's doing ceramics. She's getting her master's at Temple University. She just started. That's another reason why like this project is just getting bigger and bigger as I think about it, because it's taking on a life of its own. But this is one of Melanie's carpets that she used to do. She had a very successful carpet business. She was selling internationally. She was selling to different hotels. She had big contracts. So she organized a bunch of African American designers and artists, because she, felt like people weren't getting the kind of work that they needed to get. They weren't getting the contracts. So these are the interior designers, now they are not able to find resources that they want that are culturally relevant. They're looking for makers, furniture makers, ceramic people to do tiles, people to do tiles for the floor, tiles for the walls. So this here is contracts alone, and this is a brand. Oh, this woman is amazing. She's from Jamaica. And this is her brand for her ceramic ware. And these are some of her dishes that she's done, and I love how you can just feel the iron, in her work. Just so beautifully done and beautifully presented. And I
Mm.
like how she even,
Mm-hmm.
shows how, she uses her the food, and she's a part of the Black Artist Designers Guild also. And these are just some material culture that I just wanted to share with the textiles. When folks didn't have nothing, they were using rags, tags, whatever to make these gorgeous quilts. And these are just images of the interiors alongside, pretty much what they were using inside with their material culture. But this is just does anybody have, and this is our dearly beloved John Lewis and his quilt. I think that's such a beautiful photograph here. And also, this is some on the right side. This is one of my interns that with two of my crocheted pieces. And then on the left-hand side, it's one of the quilts from the G's Bin. And this is a traditional Ogungun piece from Nigeria. And that too is something that I think needs to be explored. But my specific interest was dealing mostly with the ceramics, cultivating um, products and services for our community, and for economic development, because there's a market for it and the material is here. And I don't know if you have to pay for that material. I don't know if what the rules are about getting the clay directly from the ground, but and then the glazes, you can it's all so accessible. And there's this community excuse me, of these ceramic artists between New York, Baltimore, DC, and Philadelphia. And then I heard that Simone Lee is moving a studio to Philadelphia. She comes here a lot to have some of her bigger work done, but it's something I see that it's gonna make its own self happen, because the women are here and the ideas are here, and all the pretty much the resources are all here, and we just to re um explore the ceramics and developing a material culture. This would be the first reconstruction in North America. Does anybody have anything that they say? Oh, we're a minute over.
So yeah, we do have a question in the chat. I'll read it. It's from Hiba Ali. Excuse me if I mispronounce your name. They want to know whose work is this. I think they were referring to the last slide, but you're more than welcome to jump on the
Which
mic.
last slide? Which work? This work here?
I'm not sure. I'm just waiting for them to respond.
Okay. This.
So Hiba said yes, but I don't know which yes they were referring
This
to.
work here?
The one with the fabric.
Okay, they all have fabric. Well, the ones
The last
with
images Hiba said, I believe it was the one, the traditional work at the end.
oh
At the
yeah, it's
very
from
end of your slideshow.
Nigeria. Those are traditional Nigerian ogunguns. Those are kind of when a person dies, they kind of like um, these are pieces, these are ancestral pieces. And I think this is something that we could explore in our community, because like when people pass and their clothes are still there, instead of just giving them to Goodwill or whatever, I think some of them could be made to artifacts that family members keep, other than just doing a quilt, but something that would be a sculptural piece that you know, it would be within the family. But thank you everybody for attending. I would like to stay in contact with everybody if you don't mind, or whoever is interested in staying in contact, because we didn't get a chance to introduce ourselves, you know, because I had like 200 and something slides and I wanted to try to get through them. But I am interested who all attended and your interest in stuff, because it's an ongoing project for me. And you know, the research and development, the African American material culture, the African American homemaker for health and well-being and economic development within the community. So you know, thank you all for attending. And if you could leave your emails if you're interested in staying with me, staying in contact with you, I'd appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for not leaving me while I was in the middle of my presentation.
So
And thank
Xenobia, if
you.
there's a request for your contact, is there ways that people
Oh,
can reach out to you?
okay, let me put it in the thingy. This is me. Sorry, I didn't even think about that. So you guys are all on top of it. Okay, that's to everybody. Did that get to everybody? Oh,
No,
that's
it just went
private.
straight to me. It's okay. I can copy
Everybody,
it.
just a minute. Okay, just a minute. Just a minute. Just to make sure that's right. Oh shoot. Okay. Does that go private again?
It did. Oh, there you go.
Okay. All righty. So thank you all again, and you know, enjoy the rest of this conference, because I definitely am. Thank you, Whitney, for just being there for me. Thank you, Rashida and Kameh, for doing this brilliant work here, which enhances my work, and my work enhances your work. So thank you all so very much. See, can people, let me see.
Yeah, so folks can take a quick break, and we're
Okay.
all
How
going to be
long is
going.
the break?
Well, it was supposed to.
So I can unshare, stop
Yes, you
share.
can.
Okay.
So
Oh,
folks can take a break. I do believe they're starting at 1:35 in room 1. So I left the directions in the chat. I can repost it as well. So we're going to take a break, go back to the chat, and begin Compass with Dynamism, a musical performance. So stay tuned. Please take breaks. Please drink water, and we will see you there.
right. Okay. So how do I get access to the notes, number one, and then am I able to attend to the rest of the time camp?
Sorry, Zenobia, I didn't get the whole
And
question.
am I able to attend the rest of the time camp?
Most definitely. So if you
Okay.
look in the chat,
Okay. Look in the chat. Okay.
I'm
Oh
just
wait,
gonna,
look in
I'm
the
gonna
chat.
stop the recording so that I can send it to you for your
Oh,
documentation purposes.
you're gonna stop the recording?
You
What
don't
did you
have to
say?
do anything. I'm just gonna tell you. I'm just telling you what I'm doing.